Hello everyone watching from at home. I am your Chef Andy. This is BrandPlus TV and the name of the show is Lunch Guide. Today we are going to be making a very simple pasta dish. It's actually a salad, something you can do very much at home, something you can do in maybe 10 to 15 minutes. So without further ado, I'm just going to rush into the ingredients. So I'll start from the bowls right at the front. So the first bowl there is a bit of coriander. I have chopped red onion, I have chopped chives, I have chopped white onion, I have French beans, and the bowl right at the end there, that is actually a little bit of coconut oil. On the right, I have a parboiled egg. So basically that was boiled for about 30 minutes, so consider it a hard-boiled egg. I also have some mayonnaise, some garlic, a bit of salt, half a lemon, cooking cream, and Parmesan cheese. I also have some penne pasta, and I have some cheddar cheese. So we're gonna take a small commercial break now. I ask that you grab your pens, grab your papers, and let's get cooking. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. This is Lunch Guide. We were just introducing our ingredients for those who missed out. We're gonna be working on a very simple pasta dish today. I'll just swoop right through the ingredients once more. I have some coriander, some red chopped onion, some white chopped onion, some chives, some French beans, and some coconut oil. I also have a hard-boiled egg, some mayonnaise, very regular mayonnaise, some garlic, some salt, I have a lemon, I have some cooking cream, I have some Parmesan cheese, I have some penne pasta, and I have some cheddar cheese. So without further ado, we're just gonna go straight to it. So the first step, we're just going to jump straight into our pasta. So very simple. A lot of you are always trying to get your pasta to come out right, trying to get it to cook without breaking it. Today you're gonna get the tip. So I'm just gonna go right to the pot. So in the pot I have just plain water. We're just gonna let that come to the boil. While that's boiling, I'm just gonna explain to you what we're gonna do in this process. So basically we're just going to cook our pasta to al dente. So this basically means we're not trying to overcook the pasta, so we don't want it to mash. We want it to hold its shape. We want it to be just perfectly cooked and to have just a small bite at the end. So our water is good to go now. You can use any pan whatsoever. I always recommend you use a big pot, at least a pot that can take quite a good amount of water. It's always good also to have a pot that is big as opposed to a tiny one, because when you have a bigger pot, your pasta gets room to expand while it cooks. So while that goes, I'm just gonna grab a bit of my salt. So I'm just gonna put about half a teaspoon in there. And then I'm gonna put a dash of oil. So feel free to use olive oil, also be free to use some vegetable oil. At this point in time, it doesn't really matter because the oil is only just to make sure that our pasta doesn't stick together. So this is now nicely boiling. I think we're now ready to go. So I'm just gonna go right ahead and throw the pasta in there. So all you need to do at this stage is just give it a tiny little mix like I'm doing now. And then I always recommend let your pasta cook with the lid off, because the steam kind of compresses a lot of excess heat in there. And what happens is you can't be able to time your pasta. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna let that continue for about 6 to 7 minutes. We're gonna jump straight into the dressing. So I'm just gonna grab another pan here. And so basically I'm just gonna show you how to come up with a different kind of dressing. A lot of people are always trying to figure out which is the best way to come up with a sauce. I like my sauce cooked, first of all, because you can bring out the flavors, you get the best out of your ingredients, and plus it's just better cooked, it tastes fresher, and it's not straight from a packet. So I'm just gonna grab some of my garlic. So very, very simple. I'm gonna show you now how to do the garlic. I'm just gonna pull that off the way now. So basically very simple, just using my knife. I'm just gonna place my knife on top. One knock on your garlic knob and you're good to go. So try that at home, comes out really easy. So I'm just gonna take my knife. We're gonna go straight to giving that a nice fine chop. All right, so now we have our garlic ready. We can now just put our pan on now. We're just gonna now jump straight into making our sauce. So as I said, it is always nicer and it always tastes better, especially if you're making it fresh. Take a little more time to make your sauce from scratch. It will make the difference when you serve the food much later. So I'm just gonna clear that. So to our sauce, we're just gonna incorporate a very few amount of ingredients. So we're gonna be working with some red onion. We're gonna be working with some white onion. We're gonna be working with some chives. I'm gonna use a bit of coconut oil. And then we're gonna work with some French beans as well. And last but not least, the cream is gonna go in last. So basically at this stage, the cream is basically just to give a bit of oomph to your sauce. You want it a little thick, you want it to be able to coat your pasta. So before we jump into that, we're gonna give a look at our pasta. It's nicely cooking, it's about halfway cooked, so you can be able to see it from home. So that's about 3 minutes away. While that continues cooking, we're gonna jump straight to the sauce. So I'm just gonna give that a bit of time to heat up. And while that continues, I'm just gonna grab, so this is regular coconut oil. A lot of viewers at home, you might not be able to find it in supermarkets, but Oriental stores are the best. You can also use fresh coconut if you can find some. You can also alternatively use designated coconut. So it comes in a bag, it's dry, but you can just dip it in a bit of water, squeeze out the excess water, you will get that coconut flavor. So I'm just gonna take about just a heaped teaspoon, like so. It's gonna go straight in the pan. So basically I'm just gonna wiggle my pan a little bit, give it time to heat up. And then while that continues, I'm just gonna go straight at it. So we're gonna go with a bit of white onion, a bit of the red onion, and a bit of the chives. So if you can find chives, you can always substitute that with leeks. You can also work with spring onions. Gives a nice same pungency. So if you can find all three varieties of onion, I would say go with white onion. It's a little less pungent and it tastes much better with your pasta. So we're just gonna bring the heat a little up and we're gonna give that a little toss. So at this stage, we're just gonna let the onion sweat out a bit. So we're gonna let that just continue for about an extra minute. We're gonna give our pasta a little stir again. So you'll just basically be able to tell your pasta just continues to thicken as you continue cooking. It continues to volume up. So at this stage, it's always nice to keep your pasta stirring. Just keep it going. This is to make sure it doesn't stick together. And as well, you want that perfect, you just want it to look really good when it's cooked. So we're gonna give it one more stir. And then that's gonna continue for about 3 to 2 minutes. We're gonna get back to our sauce now. So you can see the onions are nicely fragrant, nicely browned. Now to that, I am now going to jump straight into getting my cream, my French beans. I'm gonna have also some mayonnaise here. So this is actually a very, very special recipe. A lot of people never knew that you can actually use mayonnaise to cook. I like to put a small teaspoon of mayonnaise in my pan. It just brings a nice, how can I say it? It's a nice velvety feel to the mouthfeel. So very small teaspoon of mayonnaise right in there. Just gonna give that a toss again. So don't let it cook too long. Throw your French beans in there. So give that a bit of time to cook. I would say just keep tossing your pan. You can use a spoon. I prefer to just toss the pan. Or you can also, if you're cooking with a wok, it's much easier. If you can't be able to just toss it with a pan, please use a spoon. It's a little less messy. So I'm just gonna give that a toss like that. And as that continues, we're gonna go back to our pasta again. So that's still a little far. We're gonna give that another extra minute. So while that's cooking, so basically at this stage, you don't want your green beans to cook too much. You don't want them to be mushy. The process of having it as a salad is you want that crunch. The moment you overcook it, you ruin the crunch, so it actually now tastes like a stew, which is what we're trying to avoid. So I'm just gonna give that a nice toss. As you can see, it's nicely colored, nicely mixed up. I'm gonna grab my coriander now, just small bunch. I'm gonna use a knife. So give that a quick. So very coarsely chopped coriander. I'm gonna throw that in there. If you're not a favorite of using coriander, you can avoid it. I always like to use it because it just brings a bit of creativity to the dish. Also gives it a bit of a taste. So I'm gonna give that a quick toss. All right, we're gonna take a small commercial break, and when we come back, we're now gonna just get to the finishing bit of our dish. So we're gonna go straight into assembling the sauce. We're gonna be able to look at the veggies, and then when we come back, we do the plating and we taste it. We see how good our dish came out. So do take a break. See you shortly. When we come back, we plate. Thank you. Hello everyone, once again, welcome back to Lunch Guide. I'm your chef, Chef Andy. I'm just going to now take you a little back to what we have been doing while we took our break, before we took our break. So we have a pasta salad on the go here. In front of you now there is a saute, a very simple saute. So in there I have a bit of coconut oil, I have some red onion, white onion and spring onion. I have some French beans. So basically this is going to be incorporated into a pasta salad. And then right on my far right end here, I have my pasta now. So this is cooked. So the idea of being able to make a very good pasta salad is, one, cook your pasta as quick as you can, and don't forget to cool it off when it's just about to get to its cooking, the last stage of its cooking stage. So basically I cooked that for about 5 minutes. I took it off the heat and I rinsed it under cold running water. So I recommend, if you don't have a running tap next to you, you can always take a bowl. Just have a bowl, have your sieve ready, throw some ice cubes in there, just get that water to drop in temperature, because what you're looking for is cooling the pasta as fast as you can. So now we're just gonna go straight into the plating stage. I'm gonna introduce some of the ingredients in front of you. So I've got my sauteed green beans with onions, red onions, white onions and spring onions. I've got some cheddar cheese, I've got some mayonnaise, regular mayonnaise, got a bit of salt for taste, I've got a bit of a lemon here, and I've got some Parmesan cheese. So now I'm gonna show you a nice way of playing around with ideas, and for this particular dish I'm playing with 2 cheeses. So I'm gonna be using the cheddar cheese, which is going to be incorporated into the salad. And for the Parmesan cheese, I'm gonna be using this as a garnish. So I'm just gonna go right into it. I'm gonna start with my lemon juice. So the lemon juice is just to bring that citrusiness into the salad. Remember, you don't want your salad to be down and flat. So this is the best way to do it. Just grab your half lemon. I use a sieve and I just squeeze the juice right through it like that. Okay, so half a lemon is enough for this recipe, but if you're going to be cooking for 2 or more people, I recommend just 1 lemon. Try and avoid using vinegar because it's commercial and it's not fresh. It doesn't feel like a lemon would. So I would say if you can't find a lemon, just work without it. So now I have my lemon juice. I'm just gonna grab a bowl here. So as you can see, this is penne pasta. You can find this at any shop around you. Normal retailers will be selling this at a very convenient price. You can also play around with different kinds of pasta. You can play with tagliatelle, you can play with spaghetti, so you are not limited to use penne. So I'm just gonna give that a little shake. So this is basically in the sieve to just get rid of the excess water. So I'm just gonna give it a little shake like that. And that goes straight in my bowl. All right, and then I'm gonna grab my cheddar cheese. Cheddar as well, you can actually buy this in most outlets in Nairobi. So if you can't find cheddar cheese, you can always play around with any local cheese you can find. So I'm gonna be a little fancy with some cheddar and some Parmesan. So I'm just gonna go right into it. So I'm just gonna grab my cheddar cheese and my grater. And I'm just gonna give that a small little mix in there. So basically in there is about 2 tablespoons of cheddar. I'm gonna get that out of the way now. So about 2 tablespoons of cheddar is enough for this recipe. I'm just gonna grab a spoon, give that a small mix. Right, and then I'm gonna grab my green beans. So as I mentioned earlier, for those who missed out, this was a very simple saute. So in here we have some French beans, we've got we've got some chives, some white onion and some red onion. I also have a bit of coconut oil just to bring a bit of fusion into it. Remember, we're going to be putting a bit of lemon juice in there, so you're not really going to be tasting coconut right through. So this is all going to go in there. Right. I'm going to give that another mix. So remember, you're serving this as a salad. You're serving it at room temperature. So if you're serving it fresh, give your pasta some time to chill out. Give your French beans some time also to cool off. I recommend mixing it when they're both at the right temperatures. So I would recommend make one at a time so that you can be able to time the cooling process. So I'm just gonna mix that up so you can see it. It's nicely evenly mixed. Then I'm gonna incorporate my lemon juice in there. That's just to bring out the flavors. And then I'm gonna put just about a 1/4 teaspoon of salt just for taste, and a bit of black pepper, like so. Give that a small mix as well. So a lot of people would love to put a bit of olive oil in this dish. I would recommend don't put too much oil in this. If you're gonna go with olive oil in there, probably you'd want to skip on using the coconut oil. So just gonna give that a small mix. All right, so now we're gonna be playing as well with our garnish. So this is something you may want to try at home. Some of the equipment I'm using you might not be able to find at most regular outlets, but you can also write to us. We can be able to guide you on where you can purchase such items. This is just a plating ring, very standard one, and this is for food, so I recommend don't just pick anything from the garbage or from the garage and put in your food. This is actually recommended for cooking. So in the bowl here I have some Parmesan cheese, so I'm just gonna go for it. So I have a preheated pan, not too hot, not too cold. Then I'm just gonna take my ring, I'm gonna put it in the center. I'm just gonna sprinkle some of my Parmesan cheese in there. So basically this is just to make it look a little nicer for presentation, but if you don't have the time and you don't have the utensils to do so, feel free to just sprinkle some of this on top of your salad. So I'm just gonna let that heat up a little bit, and I'm gonna use the back of a spoon to just spread that out slightly. So that's gonna evenly cook. So basically what's gonna happen here is the Parmesan's gonna melt. We're gonna get a little bit of crisp to it. I'm just gonna sprinkle a little more in there. So at this stage, if you can be able to look at your pan and you can see that the Parmesan's melting, it means your heat is just right. There should be a bit of bubbles coming up. So I'm just gonna check on that. All right, so I'm just gonna now kill my heat. I'm just gonna now take the ring out. So very simple process, something that just makes the pasta look a little wow if you have time to do it at home, of course, and if you don't, please don't stress on it. So I'm just gonna use a spoon and I'm just gonna lift that off the pan like that. I'm gonna put it on my chopping board and I'm gonna use the same ring that we used earlier. I'm just gonna place the cheese right on top of it. So this is basically just gonna give it a curve like that. So as I said, if you don't have the tools, you don't have the utensils to be fancy, you can always try and play around with other items. Items you can play around with that are friendly for the kitchen. I would say you can also use a chopping board for this method. For the ring, you could always just sprinkle the cheese on your pan, let it melt, take it out. You can use also the top side of a cup, just flip it around and press it right through. You're still gonna get the same perfect circle. So this is nicely cooling off. We're just gonna let that cool off on the side. And now we're just gonna go straight into our plating. So basically, this is what we're gonna make our plate look like. So I'm just gonna clear my station there. So very simple dish, something you can make for your kids at home, something you can make for your guests over the weekend, something you can actually also make for your lunch break. You can be able to make this in advance, let it sit in your fridge, just pack a portion for yourself, take it to work, it's allowed. So now we're just gonna go straight into the plating. So I'm just gonna grab my egg here. Just gonna give it a little knock. So this was parboiled, so you can always boil it fresh. This was boiled just before the pasta went in, so it's also fresh. So I'm just gonna give that a little bashing all the way around. So tons of ways to get the shell off the egg. You can always just throw it in a glass, put a bit of water, give it a shake, it'll still come out. But I prefer this method, so very simple. And once you give it a little bash, the egg will just peel easily. Makes it a little more easier to peel, makes a smaller mess. So you can see that just peels off right off the egg like that. Right, so that's done. I'm just gonna grab a chopping board here. So simple stuff. Just the egg that I had mentioned earlier. So this was hard boiled, so I'm just gonna give that a cut right through. You can cut that in quarters as well, it doesn't matter. The shape, just the presentation is all up to you. So I'm gonna split my egg like that. Just gonna grab the plate. And now my pasta is all gonna go in there. So I always recommend when you're plating to make it look a little nicer, always start with the middle of the plate. Just hold your bowl right on top of the plate like that and just let the salad, just let it roll right out of the bowl. It gives it a little height. So this is basically tricks of the trade. It's the same thing we chefs use at the back of kitchens. So just pour all that out. So remember, just hold your bowl right in the middle of the plate, let that pour out like that. And then we're now just gonna grab our egg. Just gonna place a few pieces right around like that. We're gonna take a dollop of mayonnaise. Feel free to avoid this if you don't like it. I'm just gonna put a small dollop of mayonnaise right on top, like that. And then we get back to our Parmesan. So basically, for those who missed out, this is just plain Parmesan cheese. Stuff that you may need to make this, I would only recommend using a standard non-stick pan. It's the best. It doesn't give you a fuss, and it's the best way to get that color on it. So this was just Parmesan cheese. I used the same ring that's holding it to give it a shape. If you don't own one of these molding rings, you can always just put a bit of cheese, melt it on the pan, take it off, use the top of a cup, or just use anything round that's hygienically friendly for food. Press it in there and get the shape out of it. So now this, as you can see, is nicely cooled. And all I'm gonna do now is stick that right on top of my salad like that, and voila. Very simple pasta salad with green beans, red onion, white onion, spring onion, a touch of mayonnaise, a touch of coconut oil, a bit of salt. Very simple, something you can be able to make for lunch fresh. Thank you for watching. I'm your chef, Chef Andy. I recommend that you also check out our Facebook page, follow it, recommend it to your friends, leave your comments, leave your recommendations, leave your questions on anything related to our dish today. You have been watching BrandPlus TV. I'm your host, Chef Andy. Thank you for tuning in today, and see you on the next episode.